And we are live. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Respect the Craft. This is episode number 43. And again, I promoted it as a reunion of sorts because I'm joined by one of my good brothers here, Pete Rosado. How's it going, brother? It's been a minute.
Oh man, it has been, and you look great, man. I
Thank
saw
you.
you recently. I saw you recently at the last Project Codename show. You look great. It's great to see you out and about and doing things. And once again, I know. Listen, me and you we spent a lot of nights and days talking wrestling, and both of us trying to find like our place in this business.
Definitely.
And it's great to see, that you have never given up. I know you had, dreams and aspirations, and then, you were like, you know what, I can do so much more. And that's what I love, man. I love, seeing people that are good people in this business. I'm getting old. You're getting younger, it looks like, I don't see a shade of white in there. I've got a couple in here.
This is why I dye the hair because, again, wrestling has aged me. Even those years when we were doing, again, those meetings and all that, those grays were coming in, man. Which,
Oh,
again,
man,
even before we get through this, I also, again, just because, again, it's a reunion, also we have to give the rest in peace to another one of our fallen brothers, Georgie. Who, again, he was also part of those long nights a lot of the times when we were going through, again, just going through so many memories of all that. But
let me tell you, they come for the titties, baby. The titties are money, baby. The titties are money. I will never forget that. And he was right. The titties were money. I was so happy when I heard that George had turned his life around and had cleaned himself up. And there was one thing I told someone recently was a sober Georgie coming back to wrestling would have been dangerous because Georgie being completely focused on wrestling with nothing else to hold him back, with his love and his passion for this business, he would have been unstoppable, regardless of what anybody would have thought about him. It's so sad to see a life get cut short. And death has been around me a lot recently. As anybody knows who's at my first show, my mom passed right before my first show, 9 days before my debut show. And just as well as anybody from our late night meetings and everything, my mom was one of my biggest fans and biggest supporters. And so, treasure the time we have with people. You never know when's going to be the last day. Like that's the big thing. You never know what it's going to be. And so, treasure every day you have, treasure every moment you have with somebody. And just, live life with love. I was so happy. Actually, this past weekend, I was able to squash a 6-year heat with somebody. And it's just like, a weight lifted off my chest. Grateful for that. And, we don't got time for the BS, and we've seen a lot of BS in this business, unnecessary BS. Just love and appreciate everybody that you have a chance to cross paths with, and understand that you got to live this life with love and admiration because you don't know what day is going to be the last one.
no, definitely, and again, I give you my condolences again for your mom, and I can vouch for that. Definitely, a lot of our meetings, it would be those checking of our phones, like, oh, is it your mom hitting you up, or is it my, like,
Yeah.
it's that big. But it was always, she definitely was in your corner. She was always supporting, and again, I can only imagine that's giving you that fire to keep this going now, to keep that image
Right.
shown, and again, to push to keep going with We Are Wrestling. And again, doing it in her image as well. But before we keep on going here, we do have some. We got some people here in the chat.
Hear my dog in the background. Yo, Wes. Wes is. It's great. See Wes and Kyle, like,
yeah.
And you and I came up with him, with Mittens and Mikey. Mikey McNicholas. Seeing them at every show, that love and that appreciation that they show for indie wrestling. And Wes and Kyle remind me of those days when it was me, you, Pete Corvus, Tommy Salami, Mikey Mittens. We were out there at every show trying to find our way in this business piece by piece. Obviously, Tommy, Pete became wrestlers. I found my way into doing commentary and now promoting. Mittens found his way to being a sensation in this business.
The fact that Mittens is more over than all of us is insane.
Yeah. Yo, who would have thought that, right? Like, back in the old days, like Mittens more over than us? What? But the kid deserves it, man. Like,
hey, so that's why I give a shout out to Mittens. I give a shout out to Wes and Kyle. Because you know what it is? It's still that true, genuine love for wrestling. Like, again, I always say everyone wants to be able to enjoy this, appreciate it. With us, like you said, we were looking into that way of like, we love this business, but we still want to find our way in. And we all did. Again, now, like you said, you saw me the other day. I was making my transition again because now I'm doing commentary. A position I got to see you.
Try to take my job, brother.
Hey, you're the booker man now. Everyone transitions. So, but again, I love seeing Wes and Kyle and their definitely love for the business. And we need fans like that, man. We still need people that truly enjoy and love this business. And it's not just the smarks, Like we want to see that
people. Love. Go to all the shows, man. Listen, as long as you can afford it and you can be there, go everywhere because there's so much great wrestling out there. And that's something that I notice is so different with like other territories. Like when I travel. Nah, Des, you the man. We're going to talk about you in a minute. Des Cole is that man. And I have a great story about Desmond Cole that I'll tell you a little bit later. But, when I go to other territories, like I've spent a lot of time down south. My dad lives out in North Carolina. I spent a lot of time in that southern territory. And you can see that a lot in the way that I produce wrestling and the way that I view wrestling. But when you go down there, man, and you go to these other territories, people just love wrestling. Like there doesn't need to be a big name on the show. There doesn't need to be an ex-TV star on the show. They just go see really good wrestling and be entertained, and they let you know if it was good or if it was not. But they just love going to the shows and doing that. And Wes and Kyle remind me so much of that. And I do wish we had more fans like that. We do have a good fan base in the Northeast. Don't get me wrong. The New York, New Jersey area, especially in the Northeast area, when you start going more Northeast, it's that Rhode Island, Maine, Connecticut, all those areas in the Northeast as well. You have great fan bases, but it's very different from those fan bases you see in other territories. It's just like I'm at 6, 7, 8 different shows in a month, supporting everybody, following my favorite wrestlers around to different companies wherever they're working. And it's really great. And I feel like there were a lot more New York, New Jersey, tri-state fans that really opened themselves up to a lot more promotions. They would experience so much great wrestling. And a lot of these people that they're going to end up seeing on the GCWs, the AEWs, the NXTs, the MLWs, the Ring of Honors, when Ring of Honor comes back. A lot of those names that you're going to see, we say this all the time like a broken record, but it's really true. Those people that you see then and you love then, you have a chance to love on the indie scene. You just got to know where to look and know where to find them.
No, definitely. And that was something I could always remember from our conversations. We always kept our eyes on, again, everything. That a lot of these names, when it's like, oh, I remember seeing them here, and now it's like they're blowing up. And again, a lot of people are like, where was this guy? It's like, oh, we were watching, you just weren't.
Like, you look at the guys like you look at Suge, like people who know him as Pineapple Pete from AEW, right?
Yeah.
I was looking at Suge on, running up and down the South.
Yeah.
And I remember bringing Suge up north to work a short program with Darius Carter. I remember the first time, and you were there, the first time I booked the Ugly Duckling. Yep. Big shout out to Rob Killjoy, Lance Lude, and Coach Mikey. First time we booked them, I remember telling the promoter that I was working for, and you were there, I said, you're not going to know you're not going to understand how good they are based on the reaction they get coming out that curtain. But the reaction they're going to get going back through that curtain is going to be the true key. And when they came out that night in that first match that we brought them up to the Northeast, there were some people, a couple of people here and there that knew who they were, but a lot of people who didn't. But when they finished that match and they walked back through that curtain, everybody was at the Ugly Ducklings merch table. Everybody wanted their autograph. Everybody wanted them back. And they became a staple to start coming up into the Northeast. And I've stood by them. And Rob, as you know, now working singles as Lance is recovering. And Godspeed to Lance. I really hope he is able to come back to pro wrestling. That's the thing, right? You know, and I tell people all the time in our territory, leave. Not that we don't want you here, man. Or, you know, guys and girls, it's not that we don't want you here, but leave. Go out, break into those other territories, even if it costs you a little bit out of pocket early. Get in a car with somebody. Go to shows. Go to other territories. Ask for those opportunities, whether it's a pre-show, whether it's a dark match, whether it's a, hey, I'm going to work in an 8-man scramble, 4-on-4, whatever. Whether it's, hey, we got an opportunity for you. I was just watching, I know I'm late on it. I was just watching the Broken Skull sessions with Bubba.
Oh, yeah.
And Bubba talks about how he made his ECW debut.
Yep.
You know, driving to that ECW arena. And Tommy's like introducing him to Paul. And Paul's like, you know what, kid, we got something for you. And Bubba's looking on like, who am I working? You'll find out when we got to let you know. You'll find out when you know. We'll find out when you know. And it wasn't until that main event that went out, they said, hey, you're going to be Bill Alfonso's bodyguard. Go out there. You can take this choke slam from 911, and this is what's going to happen. That was all it was. He didn't know if he was coming back after that. He talked about he didn't know if it was a rib, if they were just testing him. But from that one opportunity and how much he made of that opportunity, he became a staple in ECW and built a 20-plus year career. And there's a lot of people that got to do that. You know, get out of your territory. Go places. Go to other territories. Go help set up rings. Go help put out chairs. There are a number of people who I have booked on promotions that I've worked for that the first time they came up, there was no guarantee of anything. And one of those guys, most definitely, Billy Brash. Billy Brash came up with the Ugly Ducklings after the Ducklings had been with us for a little while. Billy Brash came up, helped set up chairs, helped set up the ring, helped do everything. Said, whatever you need me to do, I'm there to do. And he said, hey, are there any spots? And I said, you know, we don't have any tonight, but hey, I'm very big on my booking philosophy. It's got to make sense. You've heard me say that a lot of times. I don't like booking people just to book people. And I've got a lot of people that I respect and love in this business who it's hard to not book them because I'm like, I love you. I want you on everything I do. But I'm very big on it's got to make sense. It's got to fit. And it took 6 months before I was able to find a spot for Billy. And when I did, he came up and he killed it. And he was with us for another year and a half until the pandemic hit. You know, and that's the thing. You know, so get out of your territory, go to other places, go to other companies, send a shit ton of emails to everybody, messages, everything. Send them out there. Send new stuff. Just be everywhere because that's how you're going to work different people. You're going to work different crowds. You're going to understand different reactions, different deliveries. Listen, wrestling up here, much different from wrestling down south, much different from wrestling in Texas, much different from wrestling in the Midwest. Everything's going to be different. All those crowds are looking for something different. And the only way you're going to vary yourself is by learning all those things.
And that's the best thing, too, because I was going to say that's the best way to definitely help your craft and learn that craft even better. Because, again, you're getting something different every time. Because, again, everyone tries to work that similar style because, especially if you're in the tri-state, you know what pops the New York crowd. You know what's going to pop the New Jersey crowd. But it's like once you step out of that, and, again, you learn the different styles and you hear the reactions. Like you said, when you brought in Ducklings, at first I had seen a little bit of their work because I always like to research before we're bringing people in. But seeing how the crowd reacted afterward, the first time seeing the Launchpad McQuack live, I was like, "Oh, they're gonna be good." And like seeing them now, I've gotten to work with Ducklings so many times now. Always getting to work with Rob now. Man, the reaction they get when that music hits, it's awesome.
You know what's funny? I think I told you this story. One of the first times I was, and I've been down south for years. My dad's lived in North Carolina for 20 years. Gamble, love this guy. And Savage came up in here earlier. We're gonna talk about a couple of these guys in a little bit, but
no, definitely. We got a lot to talk about, but definitely keep going with the story, brother.
Went down south. I've been down south for many, many years. Did not know where to find wrestling down there, right? Stupidly, could have just looked on the internet. But it always seemed that when I did go down there, either a show had just happened or a show was going to happen after I left. So always was weird timing. And I finally go to a show out there, and I was like, wow, this is super different. First show I went out there was CWF Mid-Atlantic.
Okay.
It was a show headlined by Andrew Everett and Brad Attitude. That was the main event. I went first time. Like, I knew Andrew from Impact. I knew Andrew Everett wasn't the main event. It was Cameron Grimes was the main event. Sorry, it was Grimes versus the now Cameron Grimes versus Brad Attitude. Andrew Everett was on the show against, I believe it was Eric Royal at that time. But so I knew Everett. I knew Cameron. Didn't really know anybody else on the card, but I went to go see what I was looking at.
Yeah.
I popped for a heel because for some odd reason, they had Schlack and Dan O'Hare, a.k.a. Storm of Entrails, down there for a tag match. And I'm the only idiot in the crowd popping for Storm of Entrails because I'm like, I know those guys. Yes! Right? But fast forward a couple of years, I've made friends with a couple of the Southern talent. I get invited to a PWX Fest joint show.
Okay.
In Charlotte, North Carolina, at Hebron Hall, the former home of PWX Wrestling.
No.
And JD Drake, now of AEW, pulls me aside right before a match is supposed to go on. And he says, yo, man, I want you to watch this match. This guy, one of the best kept secrets in the South. I'm expecting somebody I don't know. Slim J comes out.
Oh, God.
And I'm just like, I know this dude.
Yeah.
Like, how is he the best kept secret in the South? Why isn't he everywhere? And they're like, yeah, he runs the gauntlet out here. Like, he doesn't seem to get booked outside of the South, but he's like one of the biggest names out here, just kills it everywhere he goes. And I'm like, he's a Ring of Honor original. How do people know who this man is?
Like the fact that, and I remember that because I think we spoke about that. And that kind of, it happened like a little bit after that he started getting some tri-state bookings because of the Special K reunion that was happening.
Yeah.
Which is still, it was sad to hear. Like, again, everyone knows Special K. Everyone knows that history. Like, and the stuff he can do, that's insane to hear that.
Yeah, and it was just like, you mean to tell me it's the best kept secret in the South? Like, and it's just that insulation of places, you know. But once you start getting out there and see, listen, I'm telling you, if you're a wrestling fan and you travel for vacations, you travel just to travel, you go into different states, look up what companies run out there. If you have a chance to catch a show, go catch a show. Go catch a company you've never heard of, right? Just go watch some stuff because I'm going to guarantee you're going to find some talent that you're just going to fall in absolute love with. And that's happened to me with so many talent that you see me now working with on a very regular basis.
Same. I did that. I actually did that once. I remember before getting really into it, I was in Maine for some reason and I ended up going to a show because I saw JT posted about it. And again, when you do that and you find yourself, it's stepping out of the comfort zone, but you find such amazing talent, and you get to see such different experiences that, again, it opens your eyes for a bit. But again,
it really does.
It reflects also when we get into the card. It's going to reflect your eyes have seen a lot. That's like, this is why we are wrestling is the way it is. So
yeah,
that's definitely going to be great. But here we go. Before we get into that, there's always the one question I start out with everyone. So I got to ask you, brother, when you hear that term, the craft, what does that mean to you?
So I've heard you ask this question because I watch all your stuff, right? You know, it's weird for me because that has so many different connotations. So many people may not know, I'm part of a fraternity where the craft means something very specific, right? Respecting the craft. That means something very important. But I take that same idea into professional wrestling. Respecting the craft to me is in 2015, I think 2014, me walking into the last PWS, then PWS, now WrestlePro, the last open house that they did as PWS. Walking into that building and seeing guys that I knew and I had made friendships with, Hot Dog, the Heavenly Bodies, Sean Donovan, LSG, a whole bunch of people, and saying, hey, like I was actually originally wanting to train to be a wrestler, and realizing very early on, I don't have the requisite amount of time to put into this that this deserves, that is needed. And I respect this business too much to be just someone who dips their toe in and thinks they're good to go. Because we've seen so many people in this business that are half trained, the drizzling you-know-whats, and they're out there getting bookings, working shows, when other people are busting their behinds to try and get bookings and can't. And I never wanted to be that person. When I hear respect the craft, I'm thinking about everything that comes into this business, paying your dues, understanding the little things. I'm very good friends with Tracy Myers and Brian Hawks, who run AML and WrestleCade down in North Carolina. I went to a show out there. And whenever I'm visiting a show, I like to come dressed. So I'm visiting this show down in North Carolina. I have a whole suit on. Okay. Come dressed. I'm representing another company. I'm showing that respect. They're introducing me around. Talent introducing, oh, he's a booker up in New York. He works for a company up in New York. He helps book up there. When the end of the show happened, I take my suit jacket off and I'm helping take down the ring. And I get told by some of the veteran talent down there, hey, brother, you don't need to do that. And I said, no, it's fine. They were looking at me as if I was weird, because here's this guy who they're looking at as a booker up north, a guy who helps run a company up north, and he's helping take down the ring. He's helping carry the boards to the truck. He's helping do the heavy lifting. And I'm just like, those things never stop, right? To this day, I have no issue helping put up a ring, pull down a ring, do all those other things. Even at my show, thankfully, those things are done before I get there. But even if at my show, if I had to get into that building and put the ring together at the beginning of the show, I would do that. Help take the ring down at the end of the show, I would do that. If I go to another company, hey, do you need help? Do you need anything? Respecting the craft to me is being of service to this business. How can I serve everywhere I go? And how do I show respect to everything that this business entails, whether it's a wrestler, whether it's a commentator, a ring announcer, a video production person, everything, right? Respecting all the way down the line, because you never know who someone is or is going to be, right? And at the end of the day, the biggest lesson I've ever learned, and people have heard it in wrestling, the people you step on the way up, or the people you shit on the way up, or the people who you need to help you on the way down, right? And I never want to be that person. And listen, I've made my share of mistakes, learning in this business and growing in this business. But whenever somebody like, man, you had on your show just yesterday, I believe it was yesterday. My time goes weird in my head, but when a guy like Homicide is on a show, when a guy like Monster Mac is on a show, my first show, I went to Titan to go promote for my first show, and I remember giving a flyer to Monster Mac, and I said, hey, brother, if you can make this show, if you can come, please let me know. I would love any feedback. I gave a flyer to Danny DeMonto, and I said, if you can come to my show, I'd appreciate any feedback you can give me. Because I don't know what I don't know. And I'm not going to get better unless I learn from those who know. And that, to me, is really respecting this craft, respecting those who came before you, respecting what you can give to this business, and always realizing that you need to be of service every single time to this business. And no one is bigger than this business.
No, definitely. And that was, again, one of the main reasons I started this podcast, was trying to put that emphasis there. Again, having that conversation yesterday with Homicide and with Mac and Louie, and hearing their stories about it, getting into it, and getting what they did to be able to get to where they are today. And again, like you said, when we talk about those guys now, those are the pillars when we talk about independence. Yeah. And again, they were doing the same things that we, again, stress on now. Paying those dues, showing the right way, and making sure we're actually helping the business become better, and not trying to do the backwards. Because I feel like that's a thing a lot of people do, is they feel like, oh, this is just what's owed to me. And then they forget, like, it isn't owed to anyone. There's a lot of things you got to, again, work on for this business. And again, it can drop you like that.
I've been in this business, and to say that, I don't even like saying it like that. Like, like, I've been a part of this business for, I think this is going to be my 10th year.
Okay.
Because I think the first thing I ever did in wrestling was like late 2012. When I was trying to get into the business, when I was trying to figure out my way in the business, like, I knew there were wrestling schools. But once I realized that, and for those of you who don't know, I've been in a ring, I've trained, I've bumped around, I've rolled around, I've run the ropes. No, I'm not going to sit here and say I can have a match with somebody, because if you put me in a match, I'm probably drizzling shits. But I can do the basics. I've gotten in there and shown that respect. I've wiped my feet on that apron, and I would always do that. And it's always surprising when people see me get in a ring. Sometimes they're like, wait, you've been in a ring before? Like, you know how to bump? Like, yeah, like I can do this. But I knew that wasn't for me. That side of the business was not for me. What was very heartbreaking in the beginning was there weren't many places outside of, at the time, the only place that I knew of that did it was Chikara at the time. And I had no way to really get to Philadelphia every single, like, 3 nights a week. But there were really no schools that offered training in being a commentator, how to be, to be a ring announcer, learning the backstage stuff, learning how to produce, learning how to agent, learning how to book, learning the psychology of all of that without having been in the ring. Because at the time, almost all of the bookers that we'd known, all of the promoters that we knew, all of the agents and producers were either current or former workers. And you know what? 99.9% of the time, and I will say it's that much of a percentage, that's exactly what you need. Because they understand the psychology of this business better than anyone else, because they were in that ring. There's that 0.1%. And I think I'm approaching that. I'm not in that 0.1% yet, but I think I'm slowly making my way to one day approaching that 0.1% of people who didn't run the road, who didn't get in the ring and work like that kind of, for some miracle, have an understanding of this business and the background of it.
I'm going to cut you off. And again, not as a disrespect, but
right.
listen to what you were saying earlier, though, and the roads you've traveled. To me, and again, this is coming from my opinion, it equals out. And also who you've gone under to listen to and take their knowledge. Because I feel like that's the biggest thing. Because again, I've also said it on here. I've trained. I still hope to one day get back in. But if that's not my place in the business, hey, I did my time in the ring. But being able to understand psychology and learn all this from those that have been the greats in this business, you start to learn it in a different angle that you're like, you know what? I can make my way now because I understand somewhat.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of things that a lot of us try to do is learn again from these guys. Like I said, learning from Homicide early on from the days when we used to work together at BCW. One of the first guys that taught me how to tell a story was a Homicide. And that's how I learned how to do now. I'm promoting shows all around, and I learned how to do it properly from learning Homicide's way of like, no, this is how you tell your story. Now go.
Right. And then you add your flavor to it. You take a little bit from everybody, and you see what works for you. But the fundamentals are the fundamentals, right? It is what it is. There's a reason why everything starts with a 101 class, because the fundamentals are that important. How you grow from 101, that defines your style. And I've been blessed and lucky enough to listen to and learn from people, and I'm still learning and still listening to this day. Listen, I don't know what I don't know. That's one of my biggest lessons that I tell people in life. You don't know what you don't know. And I'm not the only person behind We Are Wrestling, right? There are other people, my agents, my backstage people who I go to, and I'm like, all right, here are my ideas. Here's what I like. Here's what I want to do. I also understand that there are things I may not see. I also understand that there are things that I might want to do that maybe I don't have the pieces in the right place. I have all the pieces, but I don't have them in the right positions. And they are there to help me put those pieces in the right position and give me the perspectives that I don't have and that only they have. And it is a learning experience to still be in that room and say, okay, here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'd like to do. Here's the end goal that we would like to accomplish. Okay, well, Pete, like this. Don't know if we need that. Don't know if that should be there. What do you think of this? Right? And all of those things come together to make the sauce that is We Are Wrestling. Because I'm not stubborn enough to sit there and say, I know it all and I know what to do and I know what's going to work. I don't. And that's the experience that you're going to get from other people. And, there were no schools, like I was saying, there were no schools for commentary or producing or agenting. And there are very few even now that still teach that.
I was going to say, I feel like
have opened it.
Yeah, I feel like sadly, even now, you still don't have necessarily that being something that's focused on. Because again, a lot of people want that. They want I want to be a wrestler. Now, luckily, there's more schools that teach how to be a referee as well. Yep. But the factor of actually getting to learn how to do commentary, getting to learn how to produce, how to be an agent, you kind of, sadly, a lot of times have to learn it in the field or being given that conversation. Because that's how it was with me. And I asked guys like you, guys like AJ, guys like Matt Ryan, I was asking, especially when doing commentary, I'm like, so what would you do? And that was a conversation because, again, no one taught it, sadly. There's people that can give you those tips. And even to days like now, when I hear people wanting to get in, I'm like, ask around and talk to the right people. Because they'll point you in the right direction. And again, give you those tips. Because that's what you need is that conversation to be able to start understanding a little more. Because sadly, again, schools are great, but not everyone is going to teach you what it is you're trying to do.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, at the time, I think Chikara was the only place that kind of had classes for non-wrestlers, like non-wrestling personnel. Other places had referee classes. Don't get me wrong, like NYWC, House of Glory, the Ludus. Shout out to the old school, right? Yep. The Ludus. They did have things for like referees and like managers, and WrestlePro did the same thing early on. Create a Pro when they started in Long Island. All these places everybody does referees, managers, worker, right? And the same thing for seminars. You can find a bunch of seminars for wrestlers, referees, and managers, right? you don't find a lot for commentary, ring announcing, backstage agenting, how to produce a match, how to storyboard a match, things like that. Those things are very few and far between, and you kind of got to learn on the job. You got to learn by watching other people. You got to learn by doing. You got to learn by failing. And I think there'd be a lot of great interest if there were wrestling schools that did say, you know what, we're looking at taking people who are interested in the backstage part of the business. Because I think there are a lot of people that have a passion for this business and have great minds for this business that don't know a way to get in to this business because they don't see a doorway for what they want to do. I'm trained as a commentator. When I went to college, my career field was broadcasting. That's what I did. I did sports radio. That is what I wanted my career to be. I wanted to work for ESPN. I wanted to do sports talk radio. I wanted to do sports announcing. So that was what my background is, for lack of a better term, classically trained in broadcasting. Didn't get my degree in broadcasting, got my degree in psychology and education, but wanted to go into the broadcasting field. And so for me, transitioning from wanted to be a wrestler, figured out that's not for me, I can make a living behind a mic. I know what I can do. I can talk. I've always been able to talk. And I know how to do the sports-based presentation. And I've always loved, like when people have asked me, who brought you into wrestling? Yeah, I love the characters. I loved Hogan and Warrior and the Bushwhackers and all that. But I was huge on Gorilla and Bobby and Gordon Soley and Lord Alfred Hayes and Ventura and Vince, right? Shivani, Tenay, like those broadcast boots is what really gave me everything. And so looking at them, modeling their style, adding it into the sports-based presentation that I did, I was like, I can be a commentator. And trust me, being a commentator in independent wrestling is not the easiest job in the world, because it's not like being a wrestler where everybody's got openings for a wrestler. Not everybody's booking a commentator. And not everybody wants to pay a commentator to drive the same way they'd pay a worker, right? So in 10 years in this business, yeah, like, have I done as much commentary as I've wanted to do? No. But I'm proud of the commentary that I've done. And to be very honest, I tell people all the time, yeah, I promote We Are Wrestling. Yeah, I book We Are Wrestling. But if a commentary booking came my way, I'll run and do commentary so fast. Like, that's my passion. That is where my heart is. I love booking and promoting and presenting and producing professional wrestling. But I love calling professional wrestling more than I even love producing professional wrestling.
Got you. No, and definitely that's something that, again, I'll say from my first time getting to do commentary and the more opportunities that have been opening up, getting to tell that story and be able to be behind that mic, it's a whole nother just feeling. And again, because that's what I love about wrestling. Wrestling to me was always that storytelling. And the thing we do behind the mic is definitely helping transition that for people, help getting that, like, hey, this is what they're doing in there, but now let me fill in the blanks and get you fully invested in there. But now that you mentioned that, and again, like you said, you love the commentary aspect, but you are, again, that's how I introduced you, the boss man now of We Are Wrestling. How did that happen for you? How did the idea for We Are Wrestling begin? And how do we get to now, again, you being a company man? You have your own company now. So
you were there. You were there, man. It actually the first test run of We Are Wrestling happened in your apartment. I remember showing you a piece of paper, and I had this idea for a show. I had this idea for a card. And I said, man, this should be freaking fantastic. Like this match and that match and this match. Here's what I would call the show. Here's this, here's that. Actually, the original first name that I had ever come up with for my first ever show was going to be Feels Like the First Time. Okay. And I'm dating myself by that music reference. But
hey, people would have popped.
Right, yeah. But you were there. It was on a loose leaf sheet of paper, and it was there, and I had it full, and I still have it somewhere in my house. That first ever card. I had matches like I had MJF on that card. I had Joe Gacy on that card. I Mercedes Martinez on that card, Chris Statlander on that card, Bear Country on that card. Like a lot of these people that were on the indie scene back at that time. At the time, I was working, well, both of us were working at BCW. At the time, I was still just a member of the commentary team and a part of the booking committee. It was me, you, Georgie, Anthony Cole, and AJ Pan, the five of us that were kind of there. And eventually that booking committee kind of got smaller and smaller. There were seeds kind of planted. You kind of saw some of the ideas and some of the thoughts that I had in terms of booking with the opportunities that I got at BCW. And I started to kind of lay some groundwork, like, hey, I like this idea. Hey, let's do this. Hey, can we do that? Hey, how does this work? Then Queen of the North 2 was January of 2020. And that was right before the major part of the pandemic hit. Pandemic hit like March of 2020. That's when everything started to really shut down. And so that was the last show that I worked for and called for BCW. And the last show that I helped book for BCW. And always proud of the work that I did there, proud of the opportunities that Anthony Cole gave me at that place for me to go from being a commentator there to being a member of the booking committee to being one of the main people booking that show for a while, and very proud of what we were able to produce there. Bangers like Lufisto versus Kimberly, Darius Carter versus Austin Theory, Darius Carter versus Mercedes Martinez, Azriel versus Richard Holiday. Like there were, and the list goes on and on, but so many great things that we were able to produce there that kind of sprung out of this crazy thought process that I have. And pandemic hit. BCW was going to run another show. Originally, their anniversary show was scheduled for March. That got postponed because of the pandemic. When they decided to run their next show, I was very leery still about the pandemic and a lot of things that were going on. And that was the show they did in Atlantic City. And that was a really good show for them with JTG and Darius Carter and a whole bunch of stuff. I wasn't really feeling doing things. So commentary was out of it for me. I was like, I can't go down there. I'm not going to go down there and put myself at risk. My mom as well. My mom was an asthmatic. And I really didn't want to put her at risk either. But also at that time, me and Anthony Cole had some conversations about me kind of taking some time away from the backstage because I love Anthony Cole. I love and respect that man. He's a great businessman and everything. But him and I had two competing visions. And that happens. That happens sometimes. And unfortunately, I can be a bit of a hardhead. I do admit that. I can be a very stubborn individual when I believe in something and when I have an idea that I'm just like, I believe in this. And you know firsthand, I am the person that'll say, if I don't like something, I don't like it. I'm going to tell you I don't like it all the way through. It could end up being a successful idea, but I just didn't like it. It's not my cup of tea. And so I was like, okay, I'll step away from that. Cool. I won't do the backstage work anymore. Come back and do commentary maybe once the pandemic is, gone on. And it actually hurt a little bit because I was like, to step away from something that I considered kind of be my baby, right? Something that I'd helped do. I remember sitting down with my mom and we were having dinner and I said, damn, I'm really going to miss, putting stuff together and doing stuff at BCW because I really liked what we were doing there. And my mom was the one who said, well, why don't you do one of your own? Why don't you do a show of your own? And I was just like, I don't know financially. I just don't know if I can do it, and I had so many doubts. And my mom said, you're never going to believe you can do it unless you do it, right? Might as well try it, see if it works. If it doesn't work, whatever. If it works, hey, that's great. And that's where it kind of came out of. And, it started building from there. I remember taking that first card. At that point, 90% of the people I had on that first card were signed. So I had to really come up with some new ideas and all right, what are we going to do? And We Are Wrestling literally want to be starting something was a labor of. I remember sending emails, reaching out to wrestlers in March of 2021 for a show that wasn't going to happen until August. Like, that's how far in advance. I was like, can I secure this person? Can I secure that person? Can I get this? Can I make this match happen? Can I make this idea happen? And the pieces started to come together, and it kind of took on a life of its own. And when my mom passed, I almost just dropped everything. I was just like, you know what? I'll pay everybody, and I'll just cancel the show. I can't. And I'll always give him a lot of credit for this. AG Anthony Green hit me up, and he was just like, if you cancel this show, no one's gonna blame you, but don't cancel. Trust me. She would want you to do this show. It'll be good for you. And if you want to walk away after, walk away after. And I had openly told people, even before what happened with my mom, I'd openly told people, We Are Wrestling might just be a one-off. It might just be a one-off. And I think that's why I stacked that show the way that I did. Because I was like, this could very well be a one-off. It's going to be one hell of a one-off. And that night, obviously, got in that ring in the beginning of the show, dedicated the show to her. The company is dedicated to the memory of my mom. This company, I continue to push this, if not so much because I love it, but because I don't want something that she believed in to just die. It's going to keep pushing in her memory. And literally, I remember coming home after that first show, and the next week I sat there and I was just like, I think I want to do this again. And it just went from there, and It Was All a Dream in December. And then I needed to kind of take some time off to just collect myself, the holidays and, things like that. Just, whenever you have somebody that close to you pass, it's very, very emotional, very heavy. And I originally I thought about coming back in March, and that didn't end up happening. And I was like, all right, May, it's going to be it. And they say I'm a faithful person, not a religious person. So I'm not too big on the whole mysterious ways thing. But the original plan was March, got pushed back to May. Original plan was for a Friday, got pushed to a Sunday. The original plan was to do early in the month. It ended up end of the month. Sunday, May 22nd. That day is exactly 7 days before what would have been my mom's birthday. Sunday, May 29th. And I'm just like, you know what? This is fate working in its own way. And the show's named after her favorite Linkin Park song, One Step Closer. Honestly, it's because I couldn't find a Madonna song that worked. Because my mother's favorite artist was Madonna. I could not find a Madonna song that worked for what I wanted the show to present. And so I was like, all right, Metallica or Linkin Park? Those were her two favorite bands outside of Madonna. I was raised on Metallica, man. That's my favorite band of all time. Care what nobody said. And it literally came down to Ride the Lightning or One Step Closer. And One Step Closer it fit.
Yeah. Wow. I'm listening to it and I'm trying to process all that, and I can only imagine just, again, this is your life for that whole time period there. And I remember after that first show, I messaged you the next day. And I just told you how proud I was to see what you did. Because again, like I said, we went from those meetings to just regular conversations to seeing it happen and knowing what had happened with your mom. I was like, this is what she would have wanted. She would have wanted you to continue it. And seeing the reaction the crowd was giving you and seeing the reaction to the matches, I was like, I'm hoping this would continue. And I was glad when I saw you announce show 2 and now seeing the next show, I'm like, it truly is amazing to see again how those conversations turned into reality. And seeing what you're doing, I can truly say it's awesome to see this. and truly shows that growth of, hey, this is what she wanted you to do. And you were able to continue that and show, hey, again, what could have just been the one-off is now being something that has the success of the people close to you are watching it. The fans are buying into it and loving the product. So, hey, I know, again, you may not the religious, the faithful person that you are, but hey, she's watching and know that
and
she's definitely proud of it.
This is a real community effort. Like, I'm pull back the curtain here 100%, right? I don't have investors. I don't have somebody pumping money into We Are Wrestling. This literally comes out of my own pockets, my everyday paycheck. I put a little aside every month, every paycheck, and it's kind of why I run every 3-4 months, because I put away some money. But really and truly, I couldn't do this without the sponsors. I couldn't do this without people like the Jobber-Tears podcast, without the Your Sports Show, without Henny Wrestling, G'd Up Gentlemen, the Dirty Heels podcast, Pretty Heels, Heel Pops and Chair Shots, the Cut Pro Wrestling podcast, Mesa Media. I'm trying to think of some Off the Top Rope podcast who helped promote the first show. Like Joakim at Battle Club Pro, like everything that he's helped me with. Everybody that helps. Talk of Champions, True Hardcore Wrestling fans. I don't want to miss anybody. I don't want to leave anybody out. But this would not be possible 100% without the support and the love that they give to me and the support that they give to this company to run every single show. When they're like, yo, Pete, how can we help? What can we do? What do you need? And whether it's $1 or $100 or somebody sponsors one of our tier 3 sponsorships, which is a $250 sponsorship where you get your sponsorship name on a whole match and you sponsor 2 talents. Like whether it's $1, somebody saying, yo, here you go for the show, whether it's somebody who buys a ticket or whether it's one of our sponsors that comes through, whether they come through on tier 1 or tier 3, does not matter. Without them, this does not happen. I'm going to be 100% honest, and I'm so grateful and thankful to them. And I'm so grateful and thankful to every single talent, whether it be wrestler, production, commentary, video, everyone who has helped make this show possible and shows out and shows up, because that's what makes this possible. There's nothing more meaningful to me than when I contact a talent who's been on my show and I say, hey, would you like to come back? And they're like, hell yeah, let's do it, right? There is nothing more meaningful to me than when somebody hits me up of their own volition, like, yo, when's the next one? When are we coming back? When can we do this again? When fans tell me that was freaking awesome. You know, those are the things that make my heart so full. The support that I've gotten from every single one of our sponsors, whether it was financially or just physical support, means the freaking world to me. The support that I get from people like you, people like the Dirty Heels podcast and all the podcasts of the Rob Williams of the world who put me on their podcast, allow me to promote my shows, to all the promoters of other companies who let me in their doors to drop off flyers. Whether I got to pay for a ticket, and you know I've done this in front of you. I have gone to a show and pulled money out of my pocket, willing to pay for a ticket just so I can drop off flyers and promote, because I'm going to support. What's the best way to support another company? Is put money in their pockets, right? And it's a huge thank you to all those promoters, whether it's Pro Wrestling Magic, whether it's Invictus Pro Wrestling, whether it's been Titan, the one time I went to Titan, whether it's been ETU, even this past weekend at ISPW at the incredible show they did after 80s Wrestling Con, Tommy Fierro and his team, like, for allowing me to come into your building and put down flyers for my show. Like, the fact that you're allowing me to get my brand and put my flyers in one hand of one fan who may show up to my show, I am eternally grateful. eternally grateful to each and every one of them because, again, without each and every one of them in their own ways, We Are Wrestling does not happen.
And I'll give it that is the best thing about the community in wrestling, because it has its bad times, it has its, but seeing how much of that community is willing to help everyone out is always the best thing. And again, like I said, the last time we got to see each other, thanks recently again, was seeing you at Project, seeing you again doing that, put out the flyers.
And TJ opening those doors for me. Like this is a man who's only on the second show of his own company, right? Project is only on their second show, and for him to say, "Brother, come in, hand out flyers," for him to grab me in the hallway, and I'm not gonna, speak on the advice he gave me, but to give me advice in the hallway and say, "Hey, brother, here's some ideas to how to grow. Here's some ideas on how, hey, maybe you want to promote over here. Maybe you want to do this. Maybe you want to do that." Like, he doesn't have to do that, but he did. He didn't have to open his doors to me. VXS, same thing. One of the biggest things that happened on my first show, Isaac and Alex of Invictus Wrestling and Isaac of VXS, both showed up to my first show, bought a ticket, and both of them grabbed me as I was running around doing stuff, gave me a big hug. Congratulations. Whatever you need, we're here from you. Isaac was willing to help. Alex was willing to help. These are people who, A, run their own companies, B, bought a ticket to my show when easily could have probably hit me up and said, "Hey, brother, can I come?" And I'd probably be like, "Yeah," right? But we're willing to put money into that till because that's the best way to support. And then we're offering to help. Like, "Yo, do you need help putting out chairs? Do you need help doing this? Do you need help running something?" Like, there is nothing like that. And that's what the community is about. And when you find that community, it's great. And it's hard sometimes finding that community because you got to get past that mindset of a lot of people like, we're not competing against each other. I'm not here to take your fans. It's like I said at the beginning of this show, I want the fans to see everything. So I don't want to take your fans. I want to borrow them to show them some great wrestling on my show. And then I want them to go back to your show and watch some more great wrestling at your company.
Yeah. And you know what it is? And this is how I look at it, especially. And again, that's also coming from respecting the craft of it all. But my thing is, I always look at it, especially, it's showing wrestling in a different vision. No one's putting out the same show unless they're blatantly copying show, which we've seen that as well, but we're not going to talk about that. It's happened. But it's more of, again, showing what your vision of it is. It's different flavors of ice cream. Again, a lot of times it has those same players, but it's showing a different light and putting it out there so fans have a different experience. So again, you go into those shows and, hey, a lot of the fans will be like, "Oh yeah, I just saw this guy here, or I'm seeing this guy or that," and that's what they want to see because they're like, "Oh, okay, I never thought about him in that pairing." And that's what you want. You want to show pairings that are different than just, again, the other company. And again, it's not the competition thing. Yes, for some people, hey, again, there's only a certain amount of Saturdays. So we've seen that also. That's like every other weekend. It's like, well, there's 3 shows over here. But it's also that feeling of, hey, we're trying to all give the fans something to want to come back and want them to enjoy wrestling and prove why independent wrestling is thriving.
That's right. Yeah. And that's the thing, like there's so much out there and it's everything is great in its own way. And there's nothing like it. There's nothing like going to all these different shows and seeing all these different things and just taking it the same way we will go to a Ring of Honor show and then a WWE show and then an AEW show and all these things when the big companies come to town, and we most of us don't show any like bias. We'll just go to the big shows because, hey, they're in town and we're going to have a good time. Same thing can be said for indie wrestling, man. Like, it'd be great, when you see the same fans at different shows. Like, oh man, this is great. Like, I knew I'd done something right when Mittens came to my show. Like when Mittens came to my show, I was like, I know I'm doing something right.
No, and again, it's creating that. Again, it's those bonds, it's that community, and seeing that fans are interested in what you're putting out. But let's get into that now because we've had our conversation. We're an hour in and we've yet to talk about the show. That's a week away. So let's get into that. Let's get into the meat and potatoes here, and let's start talking about
I've
One
been
Step
promoting
Closer.
the show the whole episode. I've been promoting the show.
Hey, he is on the show. He's hosting that great seminar you guys are putting together. Which when you told me about this, because again, before I'll break that fourth wall a little bit. I was previewed to this before all of you guys were. I got to see and hear this a few days earlier, and when I saw this, I was like, "That's it. It's a game changer right there." Like that was a great thing right there. And again, seeing that, hopefully for any talent that are watching this, definitely take advantage of this. A man that
We
has
still got a few
so
spots
much
open.
wisdom.
Still a couple of limited spots open. We've had some good feedback. A number of people have reached out and signed up. We do have, I would say, probably like 3 to 5 spots left. So listen, it's not every day you get this kind of seminar. And I don't want to toot my own horn, but damn, is it affordable? Like, $40 to learn from one of the absolute best in the business. This is a man who plied his craft in this same area, a Jersey All-Pro legend, right? This man made his bones in New York and New Jersey, okay? And then went to Ring of Honor, went to Impact, now in AEW, went back to Ring of Honor. Like, this man has been a star everywhere. Yep. It's one of the best things you could take advantage of.
No, definitely. And again, one of those seminars just like that. Think about it. If you know the history, especially with JAP, it was something like this where Jay got his start. It was something like this. It helped his craft. And now, again, to me, he's still one of the greatest Ring of Honor television champions of all time. So, and again, his record shows it with every company he's been in. AEW currently. Again, how would you not want to learn under that? So definitely, if you're able to, definitely make it. Go reserve one of those sprouts right now, especially if they're that limited. You're going to want to learn under this guy. And again, also be there because you want to show face, especially when the boss man himself is going to be watching, because that's one of the best ways to be involved in a show like this.
Yeah, and the good thing is there will be 2 people selected from the seminar. So 2 people who participate in the seminar will be selected, and they will participate in the pre-show.
Ooh, okay.
For One Step Closer later that afternoon. So 2 people will be selected. We haven't decided whether there's going to be 2 singles matches because we do have a couple of veteran talent that's coming out, talent that's been around the scene. So I don't know if there's going to be maybe 2 singles matches that we do with 2 people from the seminar, or if there's just going to be 1 singles match with the 2 seminar chosen people. But there will be 2 people who will be chosen that night to open the show as the official pre-show for One Step Closer.
Hey, there you go. Even more of a reason, because again, you're showing face, you're showing, and could possibly be showed out that night. But again, let's get into it. Let's start talking now about the official card here for One Step Closer and get a little bit of the mindset going into these matchups here. So first off, let's start with this. A guy that I know is going to have a busy weekend because he's getting ready for one night only. He's getting ready for STP. We got Jay Bougie going at it with currently an independent standout right now, Anthony Gamble, coming out of the Fallout Shelter with Battle Club. He's been making his waves. This is a matchup I'm looking forward to because it's truly showing who's making the bigger waves right now.
Yeah, and it's a busy weekend for TakeOver and Jay Bougie, as you said. Friday night, May 20th in Ridgefield Park, Invictus presents TakeOver versus STP. And I will be there as well as the official general manager for one night only, as well as doing some guest commentary spots with my friends Rob Williams and Alphonse Stevens. So it's going to be real fun. It's going to be a real great night. But again, he's got Ron Hunt on Friday. He's got Anthony Gamble on Sunday. And Gamble, listen, this is a man who was on our first show in the pre-show in a 4-way to open Want to Be Starting Something. Made it on to the second show into our scramble match. And that's where this all kind of started because Bougie and Gamble had some back and forth during that scramble match. and it was all a dream. And Gamble kind of came to me and he said, listen, I want to shut his mouth. I want him one-on-one. Let me get him one-on-one. And when I spoke to Bougie was like, all right, listen, he want the takeover. He going to get the takeover. So we booked it. It's Bougie and Gamble. But we all know Bougie don't go nowhere by himself. Okay? So it's going to be very interesting to see how this happens. But like you said, Anthony Gamble, big shout out to the Fallout Shelter. This man, a captain at the Fallout Shelter, and has really taken his career to another level. These are two young guys who are going to be breakout stars in this business. I'm guaranteeing you that right now. If you don't know who Anthony Gamble or Jay Bougie are, you're going to know about them after this weekend. I guarantee you that.
No, definitely. I can't wait for that matchup. Again, it's going to be shown who's making those bigger waves. And again, you talk about the takeover, they might put their noses in, but I can also imagine as a captain, Anthony Gamble's not going to run in alone this Sunday at Ridgefield Park. So who knows who he might bring from the Fallout Shelter. But let's keep it going here because this is a matchup just announced, I believe, this week as well. The promos were coming out and it was finally made official for this tag team matchup here. As you got this, I'm calling it a match, but this is a tag team fight because you got, no pun intended, fight or die, Chris Barton and Dominic De Niro. As Barton and Yaya have had their thing going, now they're bringing in each a brother in arms here. How did this come about? Again, we know the feud between Barton and Yaya. They've had their thing. They started out from show one. Barton wanted Yaya in that ring. And now we're getting into this tag fight here. I'm not even calling it a match because it's going to be a fight. How do we get to this?
It most definitely is. So, like you said, this goes back to want to be starting something. There was a triple threat match scheduled: Yaya, Yoya, and Steve Pena. And Chris Barton wanted to get on the show. Him and Yaya had some words back and forth already, and Chris Barton wanted to get on the show. He said, "Hey, make it a four-way. Let me get in. And listen, I've known Barton for a long time. I've known Barton since before he started training to become a professional wrestler. I consider Barton a true friend. And even him, I said, brother, I don't got any spots. It's all booked up. And I don't recommend that anybody does business like this. But Barton took business into his own hands. And he showed up, bought a ticket for Wannabe starting something, and attacked Yaya after he was successful in that triple threat match. And Ya made it very clear to me. He said, you want me to come back? I'll do anything for you. But unless I get a match against him, that's it. And I couldn't say no to that. As a man, he deserved that. You got attacked from behind. You deserve that match as a man. And we had that match at the last show. It was all a dream. Yaya and Chris Barton. Some people say there were brass knucks used. Some people say there weren't. I don't know. I've looked at a couple of different camera angles. It's very inconclusive whether there were or there weren't. All we know is that Dominic De Niro got involved. Chris Barton got the victory. And Yaya wasn't very happy with it. And so it's like, you know what? Let's just get everybody in the ring. And Barton said Yaya can get anybody he wanted. And Yaya definitely found somebody very, very scary in Rayhan, the man formerly known as Montana Black. But this one's gonna be a knockout drag out. In the words of good old JR, this one's gonna be a slobber knocker.
It really is. I don't know if Ridgefield Park can handle it. That's gonna be a
listen. Ridgefield Park handled Dan Moff and O'Shea Edwards. If they can handle that, they can handle this.
This is true. I was gonna bring that up later because that match. I'm still, but we'll get into this next one because from a fight, we're gonna now get into a little bit almost of some fight or flight style here, as it's going to be Gabe Sky, Desmond Cole, Savi El Sabah, and Alec Price. This matchup right here, just again, shout out to Desmond Cole, who was in the chat earlier. He's been making his waves, especially since returning from injury. He's been killing it as of late. I just got to see him last weekend defending his New York State championship at VPW. The guy is on another level right now. He's been killing it.
So I alluded to this earlier, right?
Yeah.
During the pandemic, there was a small little underground promotion that had started up called Ambition. And it was kind of like underground Pure Rules kind of matchups, empty arena kind of stuff. And I was asked to come in and call commentary and also to help agent some of the matches. And that's where I first met Desmond Cole. And sat in with him while he was, kind of like went over his match and everything. And it was at that moment that I was like, this kid's got something. This kid's special. And then he went down with injury. And then when we were putting together this show, it was like, man, we had a crazy 4-way on the last show. Casey Navarro, Smiley, Rob Killjoy, Brother Greatness. And I was just like, I want to top that. I want to go bigger. And I was like, I got to have Des Cole in that matchup. I've known Gabe Sky for a long time. Saeed has been one of my guys for a long time. And Alec Price, I don't know how you could have this match and not add Alec Price to this matchup. Alec Price is the Prize City OG. This is honestly, as I put in the promotional material, 4 of the fastest rising stars in this business. Each one of these men have main event caliber talent, and they're going to blow the roof off the place in this 4-way.
No, they definitely are. I can't wait to see it again. All 4 of them have been making their waves. When you see Gabriel Sky killing it in Wrestling Open, he's been making his way. Remarkable champion right now. That promotion just starting up. He won their inaugural tournament to crown the Remarkable champion. Like you said, Alec Price, the Prize City OG. He's been making his tear all around his scene, now coming more to the tri-state area. Been killing it. Saeed, seeing what this matchup is going to be is just going to tear the roof off the place. Like, I can't wait to see.
You have 3 current champions, 1 former champion. Saeed, a former Fest Wrestling champion. Yep. Gabe Sky, a current Remarkable champion. Desmond, the current New York champion over at VPW.
Yep.
And Alec Price, the Limitless champion, as well as other championships as well. This is an incredible matchup. Like, I'm going to be at a loss for words calling the match.
That's going to be great. Fans are definitely in for a treat with that one. But let's keep it going, as I love this next matchup because it's a true generation battle here. Because, again, I know you definitely have to bring an OG into the mix, and we have none other than the good guy, quote-unquote, Azrael, going head-to-head with Vinny Pacifico. This matchup is great here. I love this because seeing Az getting in there with Vinny and seeing Vinny's growth. Because, again, we got to see Vinny from his young age, especially when we're in BCW, seeing that evolution now. Yeah. And he's truly, again, pun intended, controlled his narrative, if you will. And now this is a matchup here. It's definitely a big test for Vinny to see, can he hang with a guy like Azrael? Again, Ring of Honor history, another member of that famous Special K. How did this matchup come together for you?
I think a lot of people sleep on Az. They really do. Az is freaking incredible. Let's just put that straight out there. Vinny, I've wanted to figure out a way to bring Vinny in for a while since the first show. Vinny's been a great friend of We Are Wrestling and a great friend of mine as well. And trying to figure out a way to bring him in was kind of tough. And I started to realize that he was getting all these banger matches, right? He was getting these matches to get some really big names. And actually the week after this show, he'll be facing Rocky Romero at Pro Wrestling Magic. And I was just like, I want to do the same thing, but in a different way. In my book, Azrael's a big name. In my book, Azrael is a measuring stick. Azrael is a true OG. And this is a guy who does not get the credit he deserves, does not get the number of bookings he deserves to be getting, is not featured the way he should be featured. Okay? And I said, you know what, Vinny, you want to really test yourself? Yeah, you can go out there and test yourself up against the names that everybody knows. Or can you test yourself against a true OG who people keep sleeping on, but who has been in the ring with some of the best? When we talk about the man who will be in the main event at this show, Jay Lethal, when we talk about the wars that Azriel and Jay Lethal had at JAP. Azriel, the only 4-time JAP light heavyweight champion, right? This is a man that when you look at his resume, you wonder, why has Azriel not been signed to a contract for a major company? Why is Azriel not on somebody's TV? Why is he not a champion at multiple companies? And why is Azriel not all around the country every weekend like we see a lot of wrestlers? That's a good question for me. And Vinny Pacifico is getting that, right? Vinny Pacifico has been getting those big-time bookings. And so it's time for him to step up against a true legend of this area, because it's easy to go out and step up against a name. But step up against a name that built their name in your own backyard and knows everything about everything that, listen, Az is going to kick the shit out of Vinny Pacifico. If Vinny Pacifico wins this match, it says a lot about where Vinny Pacifico's star is headed, because Azriel gives no quarter. And Azriel's going to make you work for a victory if you're going to get a victory.
No, he definitely is. And again, that's going to be a workhorse match right there. Because Azriel definitely, he's going to kick his ass, but he's going to lucha the hell out of Vinny. Because Az is still, to me, again, one of the best light heavyweights that there ever was. But
yeah,
that's definitely going to be that matchup that people have to definitely keep their eyes on. But this next one, again, we're talking about hard hitting. This is going to be a strike fest here, as we have the Concrete Dragon himself, another former guest of the podcast, Tristan Ty, taking on the Kick Demon, Janae Kai. And Pete, you just wanted to see a fight, didn't you, on this card? This is going to be just a brawl there. So let's talk about that.
Janae's the future.
Yeah.
Janai is the future, not just of women's wrestling, but just in wrestling. Janai is a future piece of this business. And I am so honored to be able to work with Janai Kai before, and I say this now, before she is signed to a major company, because she will be very soon. I don't know anything, but I'm putting it out there in the universe. Janai Kai is going to be signed somewhere very soon, or people aren't seeing the same talent that I'm seeing each and every time.
Don't say it on the podcast too soon, because that's exactly what happened. Funny enough, when me and Isaac promoted one of the VXS shows, the night of when we said that on the podcast, Nick Wayne was signed.
Yeah, and Tristan's been there, right? Mm-hmm. Tristan's had the contract. Tristan's been on the TV. Tristan's been with the big company, and Tristan's another one of those guys, very underrated, massively underrated.
Definitely.
But this is going to be a battle. These two are going to kick the ever-living ish out of each other.
No,
and this is not going to be someone wins and someone loses. This is going to be someone survives.
Yeah,
that's what this is going to be.
And that's what you want to see. Again, you want a little bit of everything. You want that big fight feel here. And also, one more thing about Tristan, though, and it's something I brought up when I had him on the podcast. Now that he's free of a contract, again, it's that cliche saying, though, but there's no strings attached now. The cuffs are off. Now he's able to do what he wants. If I'm Janae Kai, that also means, again, he's going to beat the out of me this Sunday. So
yeah, and that's exactly what's going to happen. And I literally remember saying that. I was just like, they're going to beat the crap out of each other. And I'm going to love every moment of it.
That's going to be great. But let's keep it going here. Let's talk about this matchup, as it's going to be a guy that's been killing it. The Super 8 winner, the ECWA Super 8 winner, Darius Carter, going head-to-head with Mysterious Q. Again, that showing here, like we talked about earlier, you've brought out some names that, again, might have not just been familiar with the Tri-State scene. The Tri-State might not have known as much about Mysterious Q, but they definitely started to learn about him, and you're putting him here with Darius Carter. This is going to be great to see.
I got to give a lot of credit to Battle Club Pro. for being the first company to bring Mysterious Q to the Northeast of the tri-state area. I had known of Mysterious Q, known about him, heard of him, seen some clips here and there, but there's nothing like seeing someone live for the first time and understanding that presence and understanding what they do in the ring. And being able to see him for the first time live, I was like, this guy is great. And then the fact that I didn't see him booked again in the Northeast for a while. And I was just like, what the heck is going on? This guy should be everywhere.
Yeah.
And, you know, he is one of the most decorated wrestlers in Texas. Many people may not know this. He's one of the most decorated wrestlers in Texas. Definitely the most decorated title holder at Reality of Wrestling, Booker T's promotion out in Texas. And this is a man who deserves to definitely be everywhere. And on the last show, Darius Carter faced a fellow Texan in Brian Keith, the bounty hunter. Brian Keith, the man with the black halo. Okay. And Darius is calling himself the king of the territories. Darius has done it all here. He's won championships at every major company. He's won the Super 8. He's done it all. And so now Darius is looking for challenges outside of the tri-state area. And I am more than happy to oblige because I think there's a lot of great talent that is outside of the tri-state area that definitely can come in here and step into that ring and measure themselves against a man who I think should not be in the New York, New Jersey area. Hate him as you must, as you might. I love Darius Carter as a talent. That man does not belong here. That man belongs on someone's television. That man belongs under contract. That man deserves to be touring the world. And the fact that we are lucky enough to have him here, listen, we're going to make it happen. Okay? So anybody, anywhere, any territory, whether it's the Midwest, whether it's the Southwest, whether it's the Southeast, whatever. Whether you're Isaiah Bronner, whether you're Eli Everfly, whether you're, Shane Taylor, whether you're George South, whether you're AC Mack, I don't care where you are in this nation. Okay, Darius Carter believes that he is the king of the territories and definitely the king of this territory. So the We Are Wrestling door is open because the We Are is a true statement. This is not New York, New Jersey. This is we. Mm. So come one, come all, because the All-Father is ready for all the challenges.
I like how you bring that up. And again, we know what next weekend is going to entail as well. Maybe someone stays after this night and he might be knocking on that door. We'll have to wait and see.
Listen, I know there's already someone who's been in a We Are Wrestling ring who has pulled me aside and said, I want me a piece of Shane Taylor. So on the 20th, on that Friday night, I do hope to speak business with Shane Taylor. I can't, guarantee anything, but I would love to see Shane Taylor in a We Are Wrestling ring if we can make that happen. I'd love to see more members of STP in a We Are Wrestling ring if we can make that happen at some point down the road. As I've said, the doors are open. It just all is about, does it fit and does it make sense at that moment?
Got you. But speaking about that, let's talk about this now. Another member of STP is going to be in action. And when you told me about this matchup, my reaction was it was priceless because I'm like, oh, this is going to be insane. But let's talk about it here as you have the big bad kaiju himself, O'Shea Edwards, going head to head with Trish Adora. And again, I know Trish can hang. Trish is challenging for the ROH Women's Championship next week. And seeing this matchup, I'm like, this is going to be a fight. This is that David and Goliath style fight here. Because again, like I said, Trish can hang. But going in there with the big bad kaiju, where did this come from here?
I don't know what demented corner of my mind this came from. I really don't. And I apologize in advance. You're not the only person that said this. I've had multiple people who, when I kind of threw the match, once I had aligned the match up and gotten it official, I kind of threw the idea to people like, hey, what do you think of this? And literally almost everybody that I've spoken to is like, what do you have against Trish? why are you trying to kill Trish Adora? Do you not like Trish Adora? And I love Trish Adora. She is absolutely a fantastic talent and an even more fantastic person. And the same thing can be said about O'Shea Edwards, who, to his credit, I'm going to shout him out right now, took up a challenge against the Bayonne badass, Danny Moff, on relatively short notice because his tag team partner and friend in Federated, John Davis, unfortunately suffered an injury. And for people who don't know, originally we had scheduled for John Davis to face Dan Moff in a match that had never happened before. And unfortunately, John suffered an injury, couldn't happen. And I hit up O'Shea and I said, man, listen, can you do this? And it was the night before Final Battle. And I fully expected O'Shea to be like, brother, I'd love to, but Final Battle's the next night. I got to be 100%. I got to be, on top. It might be the last ROH pay-per-view. I want to give it everything. And I would have respected that 100%. But O'Shea said, let's effing go. Let's do it. And he stepped in there in what was an absolute freaking war with Dan Moff, and it was all a dream.
The clips out of that, the door, again, putting this together now, knowing what happened there. Right. Again, like I said, the reason I reacted that way, because again, on paper, this is what the hell did Trish Adora do to you? But knowing the caliber of a talent that Trish Adora is, this is going to be a banger of a match. Because she will hang in there with him.
Trish Adora was in the main event of our first show. So this is, and I didn't realize this at first, this is our first two main events colliding. Main event of wannabe starting something. Trish Adora versus Darius Carter for the Pan-African World Diaspora Championship.
There you go.
Okay. Main event of show 2, it was all a dream. Dan Moff and O'Shea Edwards. And now we have O'Shea Edwards and Trish Adora colliding. No title on the line here. Nothing but bragging rights on the line. And for those of you who did not see that Trish Adora Darius Carter match, that was one hell of a match as well. Yep. Wasn't the battle and brutality that O'Shea and Moff was, but it was a battle in its own right. I think this is going to be a very interesting matchup. I think a lot of people are going into it expecting for Trish to kind of get run over and, Trish to kind of have to hold her own. I think a lot of people are looking at Trish as the David to O'Shea's Goliath. And I would ask people to maybe temper that expectation, because I think Trish Adora has every opportunity to be just as much of a Goliath as they think O'Shea's going to be.
Definitely. And again, that's why I say it's definitely going to be a banger of a match. You're going to see a lot of, again, she is a great technical wrestler as well. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen on that night. But now we've gotten to it here. It's time to talk about a matchup. Again, you're wearing his shirt. He's going to be doing the seminar that day. It is.
I am nothing but a shameless promoter.
Hey, you got to do it, man. But here we go. It's going to be Jay Lethal taking on Rob Killjoy. This is going to be a banger here. Again, the history speaks for itself with Jay Lethal, especially in the tri-state area. And you have Rob Killjoy, who's been making his name, especially nowadays. You're seeing Rob Killjoy, and I'm so happy for this, getting booked more in the tri-state. Putting these two together, it's going to be insane. How did that come about? Again, I know having Jay there, you're going to want to put your best foot forward and put him against the top of your talent there. So how did Rob Killjoy's name come into play when it comes to the match with Jay Lethal?
Everyone expected it to be Jay and Darius Carter.
I'm not going to lie. I did as well. Till you told me otherwise, I was like, It's got to be Darius.
When I announced that we had secured Jay Lethal for the show, which took me about an hour to process, I just knew. I immediately knew it had to be Rob Killjoy. Everyone that I spoke to, everyone said, oh, Darius. Oh, it's going to be Jay and Darius. It's going to be Jay and Darius. Don't get me wrong. Jay Lethal and Darius Carter would have been an incredible match. And I'll say it here. We are more than open to hosting Jay Lethal again and doing Jay Lethal versus Darius Carter. I have no issue with that. But I also think in absolutes. And I think that nothing is guaranteed. And this may just be the last time I'm able to work with Jay Lethal. And me, who had 5 minutes of a cup of coffee in this business, was able to have a conversation with Jay Lethal back in the day at a company, and I'm going to throw an old company on it, an FWE. Okay. And was able to have a conversation with Jay Lethal back then. Okay. And Jay Lethal said, hey, man, I hope to see more of you. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, I want to work with Jay Lethal again. And I never got that chance until now. And so if I never get a chance to work with Jay Lethal again, I want to make sure that I put together a match that has never been seen before, and is going to blow people's minds. And I know people may take this the wrong way, and I'm sorry if anybody's offended. I'm sorry if anybody feels any type of way. But I consider Rob Killjoy to be the ace of We Are Wrestling. I consider Rob Killjoy to be the ace of We Are Wrestling. I consider him to be one of our top performers. And yes, when I say top performers, I mean Darius Carter, O'Shea Edwards, Trish Adora, Dan Moff, Rob Killjoy. That list of top performers goes on and on. But when I think about somebody that I know I could put out there in a singles match, a tag match, a trios match, a four-way, a scramble, doesn't matter. That man's going to go out there and he's going to steal the show every single time. At our first show at Want to Be Starting Something, he faced Anthony Green in what was an absolute banger of a match. And Anthony Green handpicked Rob Killjoy. True story, I'll pull the curtain back. We originally did not have any spots. When Anthony Green contacted me and said, I want to be on the show, I told him straight out, brother, I'd love to have you, but I wish you'd hit me up a month ago because the card's booked. And, I ended up having a cancellation. Things changed. He still wanted to be with us. And I said, all right, who do you want to face? Fresh off of NXT, fresh out, who do you want to face? I'll bring somebody in for you to face. And he said, what's Rob Killjoy doing? And he said, could we move that around? And I said, let me see what I can do. He handpicked Rob Killjoy. Was not a gimmick, was not something that we did. And we said, hey, we're picking Rob Killjoy. Want you to go cut a promo about. No. This was 100% Anthony Green's choice. I want to face Rob Killjoy. And they went out there and they killed it. Okay. And then Rob Killjoy had a four-way against Casey Navarro, one of the best young wrestlers in the world. Smiley, one of the most underrated high flyers, acrobatics, out of nowhere wrestlers that we've ever seen. And Brother Greatness, another underrated tri-state talent. And he went out there and he killed it with those guys. So I knew from the minute we secured Jay Lethal, it had to be Rob Killjoy. That had to be the match that had to happen. I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be a match that people will write about for years to come. And Rob is going to, no disrespect to Jay, Rob's going to push Jay. Rob is going to push Jay to levels that we've seen Jay perform at before, but I don't know if Jay's been pushed to that level for a little while. Okay? Jay's going to need that gear that we've seen at the height of his runs at Ring of Honor, at the height of his runs in Impact and TNA, at the height of his time in JAPW. That main event, Jay Lethal, Rob's going to push him there. And whether Rob wins or loses, Rob's going to go out giving his absolute all. If you don't know who Rob Killjoy is before this night, you're going to know who he is after this night, and you're going to want to watch everything he's ever done from this point on.
Definitely. And this is a matchup when you showed me, and I was like, this is going to be a match people, again, like you said, will be talking about for a long time. Because, again, we know what Jay Lethal is. We definitely know about Rob Killjoy. Yeah. But what fans are going to see on that night, they're going to see why Rob Killjoy is not like any opponent Jay Lethal's ever faced before. So I'm definitely looking forward to this. And again, that is what this card is showing you. It is stacked for a reason. It has talent that, again, might not have always gotten that shine, but they're going to get it on that Sunday night, and you're going to want to be there for a stacked card. Again, that main event should sell it alone, but you have a card that is going to be with fresh talent from all around, and it's some matches that you're going to be talking about for the rest of the week. With a killer weekend, again, that whole weekend is stacked of great, amazing wrestling. So definitely come that Sunday. And an amazing
I'm sleeping
weekend.
in Richfield Park for the weekend. I'm sleeping in Richfield Park for the weekend. That's what's happening.
Oh man, that's gonna be a heavy wrestling weekend. I can't wait. But again, Pete, congratulations on this card, because this is gonna be a hell of a time. This is gonna be great. Again, guys, links are in the description to still go get your tickets. For workers as well, hit up Pete, because you're gonna want to reserve those last few spots. Go train with a high caliber talent like Jay Lethal and learn from the best.
I'm going to tell you something right now, real quick, before we go.
Yep.
There are talent that are performing on the show that are booked that hit me up and said, bro, can I take the seminar before the show? Like, if you're a young talent, or even if you're not a young talent, but you've been in the game for a little while, like, that's got to blow you. They're on the show. And they want to do this seminar. Get out there, $40, you know, right in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. You're going to get a chance to learn from one of the best. You're going to get to learn from a guy who's killed it in Jersey, who's killed it in TNA, who's killed it, you know, in Impact, in Ring of Honor, and who is killing it and going to continue to kill it in AEW. And listen, this is your chance to shine. You can't say that there's not opportunities out there. You know, I can't guarantee anybody anything, but you've seen it. I've seen it happen in the history of this business. How many times there's a veteran talent that may have come from a company or maybe part of a company, and they see somebody that catches their eye and they're just like, yo, all of a sudden they're talking about that person. Okay. And all of a sudden it's like, yo, maybe we should give this person a look. Maybe we should give this person a shot. You and I know that personally, because we have people that we've worked with that we know that have worked with main event contracted talent, that contracted talent then went back to their company and said, yo, stop what you're doing. Check that person out. I'm not saying that's going to happen, and I'm not guaranteeing a damn thing to anybody, but wouldn't it be something? Wouldn't it be something?
Again, shows perfectly there. It's titled perfectly because, again, put yourself one step closer. There you go. Again, guys, links are in the description down below as well, but definitely go follow We Are Wrestling on Instagram right there. We Are Wrestling 1. Go follow them on Twitter, wrestling_we. Go follow Pete as well. Go follow the boss man himself. There's his Instagram. Go follow his Twitter. Again, Pete, this has been a great conversation with you. Thank you so much for coming on. But before I let you go, I have to ask the last question because, again, you've seen how this podcast go. So I have to ask, what is the end goal? Be it for you, be it for We Are Wrestling, whichever you choose. What's the end goal, brother?
The end goal, and I've said this to multiple people, the end goal truly is, whether it's one person, whether it's 20 people, if I can get someone who is either in this area, out of this area, and known in other places, or I can get people from other places known in this area, that's the goal. I want for people to know who the talent is everywhere. When I named this company We Are Wrestling, I meant that this is truly a collaborative thing. I have no issues working with other companies. I have no issues bringing talent from New York and New Jersey and the tri-state area to other states, or making those connections. At the end of the day, my goal is to create a company where talent wants to work, where fans love to be at, and where, honestly, you're not seeing the same talent all the time. I don't want to be working with somebody for 3 years. And not because I don't want to work with them, but because I believe they should be getting out and getting bigger opportunities and going to different places. And if I can provide a platform, and We Are Wrestling, for our people to do that, that's what my goal is. I don't care if I never make a dime out of this. Cross my fingers I do. But I don't care if I never make a dime out of this.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if 10, 15, 20 years down the line, someone says, you know what? Pete gave me a shot at We Are Wrestling and that led to this, or Pete gave me a shot here and opened a door for me there and got me here, whether it was another territory and that led to me getting somewhere else, or Pete gave me a chance against an opponent that opened a door for me somewhere else. That's all that matters to me. That is honestly all that matters to me, and that's what I want to do this for.
There you go. That's awesome right there, brother. And here we go. Last comment I'm going to read here. Hey, the good partner there, Alphonse Stevens, saying two of my favorites in the biz at the commentary desk. So that needs to happen too one day. All three of us have to be in that booth one day to get to call some action.
I'm with it. It'll be me at the commentary desk this next Sunday at We Are Wrestling. It'll be myself, Alphonse Stevens, and Sam Laterna, who unfortunately had to miss our second show, but coming back for the third show. The trio there at We Are Wrestling. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. As much as I love doing commentary and as much as I love being behind that desk, I want to walk away from that desk in pure Arn Anderson style, and I want Alphonse Stevens to take my spot. I want there to be a time at We Are Wrestling where I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to call my own ish anymore. You take it. You take the reins. I'm going to go backstage. I'm going to go enjoy the show. I'm going to go call commentary at some other companies, and I want you to do it here. But listen, I get the chance to work with two of the best in Alphonse and Sam. I've gotten a chance to work with Cheyenne. I've gotten a chance to work with Dave Sturcio. I've gotten a chance to work with David Adams. I've gotten a chance to work with so many great talents, and there's so many other great commentators that I can't wait to work with. I got to get on the commentary desk with you one day. I've gotten to work with Rob Williams at Basketball, but didn't actually. This will be the first time I get to call commentary with Rob Williams, actual wrestling commentary at TakeOver versus STP. It's going to be great, but that's I told Alphonse the day of my second show, I said it on commentary and I'll say it again. Alphonse Stevens, if I'm ever running a wrestling company, Alphonse Stevens will be doing commentary until the day he can't talk anymore and he can't do commentary. He will be at my desk at any company I run wherever I'm at.
There you go. Again, Pete, thank you so much for coming on. Again, guys, go make your way next Sunday, one step closer. We Are Wrestling, putting on a hell of a show. You're going to want to be there. And again, guys, as always, don't forget to be wise, be genuine, be real, be better people. And as always, respect the craft. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.